All right, another episode of the Mansformation podcast. Myself and James again, tackling another topic that our clients deal with on a daily basis, and reasons that they come to us, and problems that we see within the guys that we work with. So we wanted to touch on, reasons that guys should be getting in shape that have got nothing to do with their abs, because everyone thinks that it's vanity. Everyone thinks that it's, I don't care about having a six pack. Well, that's fine. That's great, but there's other reasons outside of the way that you look to be thinking about getting in shape, eating better, exercising regular. So we wanted to touch on some of them because, like you say, people can use it as an excuse of, well, I don't really care if I've got big arms, or I don't care if I've got a six pack, and there's, like you say, there's just way more to it than that. So this isn't just something that benefits you. This is something that benefits your family as well. Kids probably don't care if you've got a set of abs or a six pack, and that they might think it's cool, but really all they care about is if you can chase them around and play with them and have the energy and not be tired and snappy and stuff like that. And actually having that level of fitness and having that level of energy that you can bring when you get home from work, when you had a long day at work, so they still get the best version of you, is super important. And that doesn't just happen. You've got to earn that, and you do that through following the right steps by looking after yourself.
Yeah, especially thing for me as well with kids, and I know you obviously are big on this, is being a role model. And I think, well, like you say, away from everything else, the stuff that's going to get you to show up with more energy from training, from eating better and stuff like that, is all going to make you look better as well. So it's a byproduct of that. But being present, also a lot of people struggle with their energy from people that are not in shape. How can you give your kids your full attention, or any of your family or your friends your full attention, if you just sat there distracted and you just kind of you just drained all the time after work? You're not going to be the best version of you. A better you brings a better them as well, I do feel.
Well, they will follow in your footsteps, right? They're like little sponges, and it's not just what you say, it's what they're going to follow. It's what they see as well. So if they see dad eating right and taking the time to go to the gym and, not just binging on shit food all the time and stuff like that, these are the habits that they're going to follow without even realizing. So actually, I know some people think it's selfish to be going to the gym and, taking time away from the family, or they feel that, I couldn't possibly eat a different meal to what, the kids are having tonight. We've got to eat as a family. On the whole, it's fine in certain situations, but this then becomes the norm for them. This then sets the standard that they're going to live to, because they're going to think it's just normal. Well, that's what you do when you're adult. You go to the gym. That's what you do when you're adult. You eat this for breakfast. You don't eat the cereal. You eat the eggs or whatever it might be. They will follow in what they see, and that's potentially more important than anything, because you're setting them up for success. How many people do we get that have come to us and they've battled all their life with food? They've never really exercised. They've got themselves into a rut, and that's essentially why they've reached out for help. And that's the absolute right thing to do. But maybe if they would have had better habits drilled into them as a youngster, that they wouldn't have found themselves on this journey and with these struggles as an adult.
Yeah, but you're a product of your environment, aren't you? And whatever they've grown up in or whatever they've gone through is making a direct impact to how they are. So your children, your family, your wife, your friends, who's in your home life is you're 100% of their environment. So like you say, showing up daily. And like you say, a lot of people do go down the route of saying it's selfish. We do obviously challenge that and say it's not. Like, getting the time to go there is going to make you better for them. And I know when the time comes for me to have kids, I will want them to look up to me and go, I want to be exactly like that. I want to go and push myself, because like you say, people are so impressionable. And I think having health and fitness there is one of the key points in it for longevity of life.
I had a guy last night, and he literally messaged me really upset a couple of months ago, saying about how his mental health was suffering since he stopped at the gym. He wants to get back on track. I spoke to him last night. I said, when you're thinking about going back to the gym, my wife would go mad if I go to the gym. That's fucking mental.
Yeah, sure it is, yeah.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
Yeah.
He's upset to me on the phone 2 months ago, saying that he was in a really bad place, and now he's saying that he can't come back. It might be an excuse. His wife might be thinking that at all. He might be overthinking things and think she'll think that, right? But there is people out there that don't have that support from the family. And I think actually just being clear with the family and explaining why you're doing this. This is why I'm going to the gym. It's not about because I want to look like this, like you say, that's a byproduct. That's going to happen anyway. But I want a bit more energy for the kids when I come home so I can play with them. I want a bit more energy with my partner. I want to be, a bit more present and just have a better quality of life at home. If you explain why you're doing this, then hopefully that creates a little bit of buy-in from your partner. I think it's a bit sad really if, you don't have that support, and it does make it a lot harder.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most common things we see, and like you say, whether people just say it and it rolls off the tongue or it actually happens, but it's quite common for people to, whether it be takeaways, whether it be alcohol, or my wife will want me to have a bottle of wine on a weekend. And it's like, I've even said to clients before, it's like, is there anything that we can do? Like, do you want to come on a call together and we can try and educate of like the benefits of what we will see? And I'm like, have you actually sat down and had that conversation and just laid it out and said, I don't want to do this and I'm only doing it because I feel like you think I should or feel like I need to? Well, no, and it's like, and I said, make that change and I guarantee your partner will pick up your better habits quicker than you picked up their worst ones. Yeah. And it's like, you do it and you will also become like a positive change that they want to push towards, and then before you know it, you're both not drinking on a weekend. No one's saying not forever. No one's saying never go out and have a nice time. Just don't do the certain things. But it is very, very common. We see when people come on board and they just says, my partner doesn't train, or my partner doesn't like eating healthy, so I feel like I can't. And it's sometimes you've got to be willing to just go on your own, not on your own in that sense, but make your own choices. In I want to be better, you can still have your ways,
and set the standards for the family. All right, next, I suppose we can look at business. Lots of guys in here that we work with anyway that run their own business and stuff like this, and they actually use work as a reason not to go to the gym. Too busy with work, so I can't train. I couldn't stick to a program because I'm at work. I couldn't eat right because I was taking clients out. All the excuses that we hear normally. But let's go through how actually. One of the big reasons of why you should be in shape and why you should be looking after yourself is because it benefits your business.
Well, if you want to be a leader, you want people to walk into a room and actually look and go, I'd like to be led by him. So it's like showing up with more energy, whether it be coming from the gym, looking the way that you look, being able to hold a room and not just being sat there wanting to quiver up because, like you say, your energy's on the floor, you're not feeling very productive and you're not feeling no confidence within yourself. I think doing the things that we want you to do is going to massively elevate your clarity and your confidence. You being able to go into your business and lead all these people will just make a better product for that.
As well, there's guys that are one-man bands or they run their own small business or they run the little team, even a bigger team, I suppose. But certainly the guys that are in the small to medium businesses, when they stop pushing forward, the business grinds to a halt. And the reason they stop pushing is because they're tired, because they've not got no energy. They can't do anymore. They can't give anymore. And so things come to a halt. It makes sense, right? If you run your own business and there's no one else really, you're doing anything from making the tea to being CEO of your own little business, there's nobody else really there, or you've only got a small team. When you stop pushing, and I know one of my clients uses the analogy of his business. He feels like he's in a scrum at work and he's the only one that's pushing it. And when he stops, the scrum stops moving forward. Well, if you had more energy, if you were physically stronger, if you were mentally more switched on and had more clarity because you actually fueled yourself properly and you improved your fitness, you could push that scrum for longer. You could push that scrum harder and your business would move forward. So some people will say, actually jumping on a coaching program, a bit too much money, I haven't really got that. Okay, but what money are you leaving on the table by being unfit, by not being strong and mentally focused and all the good things, all the positive things that come through actually looking after yourself? Even if you don't jump on the program, you're still leaving money on the table by not fixing this issue. Yeah,
you want, like you say, you want to be able to keep going as long as you can. I think as well, for the business and leader side as well, I think it's massively beneficial to be able to have an hour every other day or an hour a day for yourself to be able to switch off from that. Because I feel like when you've trained, whether it be in the morning or whether it be in the evening, it gives you that push on. I know I spoke to a client this week and he's just had some staff that have just kind of fallen off the wagon. He's been on board a lot of people and he was just like, I actually can't wait for it to just get back to normal on Monday and me get that time for myself back. He was like, I've missed it so much. Like, he started off really well. He stayed where he is. It's not a bad thing, but it's just like, I just need that hour a day back because I want to go get myself. He said, because I can feel it midday when I don't get out. I'm just not the person that I was in the afternoon before.
I listen to a lot of podcasts with guys that are great business leaders. There's not one of them that doesn't work out. There's not one of them.
No.
You know, a lot of them will start the day with a workout. The majority will start the day with a workout. I don't know. I don't see that many people that are running businesses kind of do it at the end of the day. I think you are mentally fatigued. You want to get home. You want to see the kids, the family, all that sort of stuff. Some people do, right? They like to after work, or they've got to do certain school runs and stuff like this, so they can't get out in the morning. But I would say that a good 90% of the guys that we train that run businesses, they're getting it done first thing in the morning. Yeah. It sets them up for the day, right? It sets them up for the day. And like you say, everyone that I've seen that's really, really successful, they're doing the same thing. There's a pattern there, you know? There's a pattern there because you're waking up, you're getting a workout in, it's making you feel good, it's energizing yourself. As I would say, if you start the day with a workout, probably not going to drive straight from the gym to McDonald's for a breakfast or Greg's for a meal deal and stuff like this. You're going to try and eat right, and that's going to have another knock-on effect of how good you feel through the day. So, you know, like you say, there's a lot to be said with stuff like that when it comes to how you perform through the day by actually starting your day with a workout.
I do. There's a couple of businesses within the UK. I think more now fitness is becoming more common and people are obviously doing it a lot more in terms of like the fitness workouts. There is a couple of businesses that have got fitness owners at the top of the companies, but they are actually creating like an environment where they have gyms on site and they will put their staff through a workout in the morning for anyone that does it, because it won't, like you say, it's just going to elevate everyone's productivity. You get your staff to start on a more positive note, I'm sure your business is going to have a bigger turnover. Absolutely. And a better environment. Like we said in the podcast previously, when you have a better environment, you are going to get a better product. So it's like all your staff swimming off the same hymn sheet, getting the endorphins running first thing in the morning. It's just going to elevate how your office is.
They're feeling more happier. They're feeling more confident. I'll go back to one of our clients who he lost a lot of weight and he actually just felt more confident with himself. All of a sudden he started speaking up more in meetings. Off the back of that, he ended up getting a pay rise, and I think he got like a $7,000 pay rise, which was a big jump for him at the time. Fantastic, because he focused on himself, and then the knock-on effect was he was better at work. So you don't necessarily have to run your own business for this to be beneficial. You know, it's just how you show up and actually looking after yourself makes you show up in a much better way.
Which we have seen that numerous times, haven't we, over the programme, people getting, not, like you say, promotions, not even business owners. But I think when you start taking yourself seriously in that area, you give yourself a little bit of a kick up the arse to then go, well, where else can I push myself? So you training, eating right also pushes you, like you say, well, can I do my own personal development? And that doesn't always have to be going in the gym. It can be your job, it can be anything else, a side hustle. You're just more in tune with actually being more driven.
Yeah, and wanting to do better, 100%. So other ones that we look at is, you know, we're talking about improving physically. And like you say, the six-pack might not be important to some people, but being healthy should be important to everybody. You know, I'm sure we all want to be here as long as we can and to have the best quality of life that we can. That's not going to happen if you're not looking after yourself. So, you know, things like, you know, reducing the risk of disease, lowering blood pressure, you know, increasing lifespan, and just being able to function at a better level. You know, there's no quality of life when you're sick all the time.
Just living every day on your terms. I think that's quite a big one, isn't it? Like you say, how many we've had people come in and when they're just eating the wrong things and like you say, they're always run down, their immune system can't fight out, and they're just not strong enough and fit enough to do everything in day-to-day life. Like, go back to the 3 peaks, like the guys that we've just took on that and done that, it's like how many of them are like, oh, I just won't be able to do that. And that is a big challenge, but when we've did them all individually, people getting up, and I know one of the clients this week touched on, he says, I'd have just never have been up at 4 a.m. I'd have always been in a pub the night before and then slept in, and he were like, getting up at 4 a.m. and getting home to my wife at 10 o'clock, he were like, and I've just done a peak. He said, it's just completely polar opposite. He were like, that's what I want to be able to do for the rest of my life. And it doesn't have to be walking mountains or whatever, but just, like you say, getting up and putting yourself in a position to have longevity and long-standing health.
And it kind of bleeds into the next point of improving quality of life, because when you are stronger and fitter and your mobility is better, there is, you know, a lot less limits on what you can do. The 3 peaks being the example there, you know, but it might be, I don't know, it could be anything, couldn't it? It could be just the way that you play with your kids on an evening. You know, God, I would never have had the energy to do this 6 months ago when I was 3 stone heavier. you know. So there's tiny little. It doesn't have to be big, huge climbing mountains. It could be, I get to play five-a-side football on a Tuesday night now with the lads and have a good crack with them, and it's something that I would never have been able to do before, or play with your kids, or play with your grandkids, or whatever that might be. Like you say, just when you are feeling weak, when you're feeling unfit, when you're feeling uncomfortable and bloated, that your body becomes the bottleneck in what you can do in life. So by fixing that, it just allows you to do so much more and get much more out of life. I had a client who wanted to drop some weight because he wanted to go riding motorbikes across South America, and he wanted to be fit enough to be able to do that if he was going to take a big chunk off work, I think a few months, and take his motorbike, which was his passion, and just go off and do that. And that's why he was training, so he could go and enjoy that. Because he says, if I stay like I am now, that's not an option for me, and I'm going to miss out on that full experience, you know. And obviously that's personal to him, but there's whatever your thing is that you want to do, chances are that if you're out of shape, you know, if you're unfit, if you're sick because you've not been looking after yourself, whatever it is that you want to go and do is going to be a lot harder.
And I think there's probably so many opportunities in people's lives where they've had someone ask something, whether it be five-a-side football, whether it be the motorbike, whether it be the Three Peaks, or do you want to come do this with us? And it's going, no, I just want to be able to do that. And it goes back to the confidence, doesn't it? Like putting yourself in that position where you're giving yourself the ability to actually go, no, yeah, do you know what? I will take that on. Like that's a good feeling to have, like what everyone should experience.
I know fine well, and we've just done this Three Peaks challenge with the guys, that there's guys on the programme now that maybe just started that wanted to come, but they didn't have the confidence because of the shape that they're currently in, and they didn't have the belief in themselves that they could actually complete it. Totally normal. They're doing the right thing by being on the programme, you know, and hopefully by the time we do it next year, if we do it next year,
give it a week.
By the time you do it next year, lads. That, you know, they're going to be in a better place. They'll be fitter, they're going to be stronger, they're going to feel like they can give it a go, and then they're going to get to experience something like that. Because, you know, I'm joking that I never want to do it again, but I do want to do it again. I want to do stuff like that again. I want to be able to go and walk mountains, and because it's a great day, it's fantastic, a real sense of achievement after it. And yeah, of course it's hard, but you know, if you wasn't in some sort of level of shape, you wouldn't get to experience that. So there's lots of things that you will miss out on if you're not in, you know, decent shape.
But that's we have it, like we're having a couple of people that says, oh, I hope you all have a good time, I'd love to be able to do that. And I always ask the question back, well, is that something that you want to do? And if they respond like, yeah, I'd love to, all right, then we need to put that plan in place to do that. Like if someone's saying I'd love to do that, and then next year time comes around and they're still in the same place, you've actually got to ask yourself, like, what do I need to change? Because like stuff like that, yeah, maybe not everyone wants to do, but if you're passing up on opportunities and they're actually what you want to do, there's got to be an element of, right, you have got to start making positive impacts on your life.
Yeah, and we're using Three Peaks just because we've literally just done it last week. But you know, like say, my client that wanted to ride motorbikes across South America, the guy that wants to just, you know, be able to get out and walk his dog more, you know, spend more time with the kids on a weekend and not be out of breath after 2 minutes of playing football with them and stuff. There's so many different reasons. And again, I suppose that's another podcast, but finding your why and really dialing in on why you want to get in shape. Because like you say, it doesn't always have to just come back to just having a six-pack.
I do think, back to point one, the majority, in some form, the majority of our clients do always go back to going, I've just had a child, I've been put stuff on back burner, and I just want to be fit enough when they're 10-year-old to be running around after them. Or when, do you know what I mean? I want to still be able to experience stuff. And I think, like you say, away from Three Peaks, away from motorbiking, being fit enough to chase your child around is a very, very big motive.
Well, I mean, we've got a few points there of the different reasons why, you know, family and business and health and quality of life, all these different areas, they all start with you. So you might be sat here watching it going, well, actually, there's another area that actually would benefit me if I got in better shape. Great. It still starts with you. It still starts with how you look after yourself. It starts with, you know, the effort that you put into planning and then going to the gym, planning and then eating the right sorts of foods. Obviously, that's what we're here for with our clients, is we'll do a lot of the planning for them and take that thinking out of it. Because sometimes as well, it's not just, they might want to plan, but they just don't know where to start, right? So, you know, we obviously help people with the plan, but once you've actually got that plan, you've still got to put that effort in. But that little bit of effort is going to give you such a big ROI in so many areas of your life, but it all does start with you, and starts essentially with how you look after yourself.
Yeah, and every action has a reaction, good or bad, and we have this conversation quite a lot. So it's what you put your effort into will only push you forward one way. And like you say, if you go into the gym, if you're eating right, you're only going to get to where you want to be quicker than not.
Yeah, and I suppose another one that's not physical, talking about mental health, and talking about how exercise affects your mental health, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. Like there's so many people that are on antidepressants and drugs for all this sort of stuff, yet they're still drinking and they're not exercising. Well, for me, I think that's the wrong way around. I think the first thing that you should be doing is, and obviously people might be commenting right now, going, fucking doctor, all this sort of stuff, get it, but look at lifestyle. I'm not saying that the drugs don't have a part to play in certain aspects, but look at your lifestyle. Like, if you're not exercising, you're not moving, if you're eating shit food, if you're boozing, if you're not sleeping properly, gosh, you're going to feel like shit. Gosh, you're going to feel down. Gosh, you're going to feel depressed. It makes sense because you're doing everything that's kind of wrong for optimum performance. So actually by changing lifestyle stuff first, I've again seen this so many times with clients, people that I've worked with over the years, they feel better instantly when they change that. Some people don't need. So I know my wife. She had one of her clients. She took herself off the meds, the antidepressants, because she started exercising, and she just started feeling better straight away. And she was eating better, and she's putting better fuel in her body. And of course, everybody's different. Every situation is different. But there's no way that you can tell me that exercise doesn't have a massive part to play in the way that you feel, your mental health, and it should be something that, if you are feeling down and you are feeling a little bit low, that is something that you should be prioritising. Oh
yeah, it's huge. And I don't know why when people go ask, there should be certain questions, like you say, and obviously we're not doctors, but there should be certain questions, and movement is a huge thing. Like you say, creating endorphins, creating that little bit of buzz about yourself, giving yourself that bit of confidence. We actually had a client within the Mansformation as well who come off the antidepressants, and I asked him the question of why do you feel like you're not worrying about as much? You're like, no, I said, I've just come to a point where I actually feel like quite confident just not to take these. Because I can't put my hand on it, but it was like, I just feel like for once in my life, I'm just confident enough that I don't need them. Yeah. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I don't know if it's because I've lost weight or I've got fitter. And he just said, but for once, I just don't feel like I need them. I was like, how huge is that? And
it was life-changing, right?
Yeah.
Life-changing, because some people stay on them for years and years because they don't know another way, and they think that this is the only way to get a grip of it. So, and as well, a lot of people will feel down, and you talk about mental health. It's not just necessarily depression. Stress is a huge thing, right? Especially the guys that we work with. A lot of business owners, a lot of people that are very high up in companies, they've got a lot on the plate. When they combine that with the responsibility to family and, potentially look after parents or whatever that might be, whatever their stresses are in life, a lot of guys of our age have a lot of things on the shoulders. And that's something that's going to really affect your mental health when you are stressed out of your mind. But exercising is a great way of relieving that stress. So, making sure that that's got a place in there is a coping mechanism for a lot of people. We go back to the Mr. Universe Meets podcast, and I've spoke to guys on there who said that have told me about real dark times that they've been in their life, and that their training was almost like therapy for them.
Yeah, well, it's like an opportunity to get out, like we said before, that hour, to get away from the music that's going on, just going and focusing on you. But if you feel like you've got the world weight resting on your shoulders, it's better for you to be as confident and feel as strong as possible. And I don't mean as in strength in the gym, but you feel as confident within yourself to be able to take that on. If you're not training and you're just feeling down in the dumps, like we've spoke about it a lot of times, but you being a diluted version of yourself is only going to make them problems harder to face. And we've said it before, clients have said to us when I nail everything, I feel like I could take on the world. And it's like, well, that's a better position to be in than missing everything, not eating right, and just having a little bit of lacking in your own clarity. Because then when something happens, everything's heightened.
So one of the things that I always say is when I'm tired, I turn into a little bit of a pussy. I turn a little bit of a bitch, right? And I'm just like, everything feels harder. Everything, decisions and problems at work or at home, they always seem bigger than what they actually are. And it normally comes down to tiredness. And that might be just through, lack of sleep, or maybe I'm going through a stressful time or something like that. But I think that when you look at your lifestyle as a whole, if you are exercising, if you are eating the right sorts of foods, if you are getting better sleep, being hydrated, all these things contribute to getting better energy. And when your energy is better, everything just seems a little bit easier, right?
Yeah, life's better.
You become less reactive. Your decision making is better. You feel mentally sharper, and life gets a lot better. But like I say, it's not just all about getting better sleep. It's about everything that goes alongside that, so that you are, not showing up in a tired, drained state.
Yeah, I think obviously you're more triggerable. Like the worse you feel, you're more triggerable, and like say, there'll become a point where you might feel better, where you're starting to feel a bit more confident, and you look at how you've approached certain situations, how you react to stuff, and go, well, I probably wouldn't approach that. I'd approach that differently if it was now. So just give yourself the opportunity to do that. You want to go into every day feeling your best, and there's going to be days where you're not going to do that, but over the course of a longer period of time, having a bigger percentage of you feeling good through your own actions will 100% make your life better.
I think the final point I want to touch on really is aging. We're going to age anyway, right? As we're getting a little bit older, as you go into your 40s, this is the point when a lot of guys tend to slip into a bit of decline. And they do that because, well, that's just what you're supposed to do when you're 40. You've got the kids now, and you've got other responsibilities, and they put on that middle-age spread and that dad bod and all this sort of stuff. And it's just because that's what they believe that should happen. And when you believe that, that's the path that you're going to follow. Now, if you believe that I can stay in great shape through my 40s and my 50s and into my 60s, then that's what will happen, because you'll actually formulate a plan and some action steps to be able to go and do that. We've seen guys that are in incredible shape in the mid-40s would absolutely outperform guys in the 20s, time and time again. They can run faster, they can lift more, they've got more energy, they look better, they feel better. So age really is just a number. It becomes, how we look after ourselves throughout our lifetime, as to how we're going to age.
I think a very good example of this, and someone that I look at, obviously played rugby all my life, and obviously you spoke to him on your podcast, and obviously he's doing a live event, Jamie Peacock. It's like he retired, and I think most people thought he'll kind of just dwindle and he won't have this purpose, and he kind of went out and he's running stupid time marathons, and then he's doing ridiculous high rocks time.
He's in incredible shape. I seen a picture of him the other day on Instagram. He looks in incredible shape.
And it's just like,
shredded.
You're getting older, you've lost this big part of your life where everyone feel like you once you come away from it, you might struggle. And I'd actually say, like, you're getting better. And it's like, it is unbelievable. And I feel like you say it's common. People will become kids. It's just the norm, and it's to kind of put yourself on the back burner. Be willing to break that norm and be willing to make your own story.
It's so easy to do because, like you said, life just gets in the way sometimes. And being a good guy, you want to put the kids first. You want to put the missus first. You want to put business first and your staff or your job or whatever it might be. But actually, if you don't put yourself first, all these other people are just getting a shitty, watered down version of you. And hopefully we've touched on there some of the reasons then that you'll think that it's not actually selfish to go and work out. It's not actually selfish to dedicate 3 hours a week into the gym and actually watch what I'm eating, as opposed to just grabbing stuff for convenience on the go. Like you say, the return on the investment of looking after you goes way beyond just having a six pack or having bigger arms. You can see there that it's a much, much broader picture, and there's so many more people will benefit. And as well as you'll benefit in different ways from the few small actions that you have to do a week to stay in shape.
I think you just touched on there about the selfish, and I know it's different. Like if someone's got a newborn child, it's going to be slightly different. I know that people might be watching this going, oh, I can't in my situation. I'll get there at some point. But for me, if you've got a business, if you're even just employed, like you can't be selfish on yourself. So it's like you are appeasing everybody else and doing what's right for them and working late or staying at an employer that's paying you X amount of pounds. You're saying, oh, I'm not selfish and I don't want to go to the gym, but you're actually doing your own self a detriment. So like you are more important than the majority of people. So it's like, obviously, yes, your wife, your kids and stuff like that, you want to make sure they're provided for. But other way from that, like doing stuff to appease everyone else isn't necessary. Making sure that you get done what you need to get done is right, but you then find that time because you are the most important person. And I think for me, it's seeing that and actually not looking at it as a negative.
I listened to a lot of like Phil Graham stuff, and obviously he was mentored me for a while. And I listened to his podcasts, and what I'm listening to in the car with my wife, and he talks about like the level of order that he puts things in.
Yeah.
And he puts, I don't know which way around it is exactly, but it's something like fitness first, then business, then family. And Barry's going, what the fuck? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, because you would automatically assume that family's first, but the way that he rationalises it, and whether you agree with him or not, if he doesn't look after himself first, then business and fitness get a shittier version. If he doesn't look after his business next, then that affects the quality of life for the family. Yeah. And so he kind of does it in that pecking order, and that works for him. And obviously everyone's different, but certainly making sure that you are not the absolute priority. As I say, you have to downgrade your own kids and think, well, you're not as important as me right now, because of course they're the most important thing in the world to you, or the business isn't as important as me. But just making sure you've actually got the time in your week for the necessary things to make sure you can perform at your best. That makes so much sense, and people just don't view it that way.
No, and I think back to the Phil Graham thing, if you look at him and you kind of look from the outside, he's still doing them all. He's still doing it all. It's not like you never see him with his child and stuff like that. And that's, but the important thing, it's like you say, everyone has a place. I think it's just the easy way to actually go, I'm working late. And it goes back to, are people just saying it and it's rolling off the tongue as a bit of an excuse? There's definitely time. Like, we always go back to the 3 hour thing, don't we? Of like, can we have 3 hours a week? We're not at, like, yeah, it's different if someone wants to go to a massive event and they've got to train, like you've obviously spoke about when you was Mr. Universe. You didn't have the businesses, you didn't have children. So it's like it will become a lot harder when that come along. But we're not asking people, and people don't need to be putting their man hours into there. No,
exactly. We're talking about the average guy here that wants to get in better shape, lose the dad bod, get a bit fitter, get healthier, like we said, the list is there, isn't it? Get a better quality of life, show up better for everybody else. And it doesn't actually take that much. It just takes a level of planning and a level of, discipline to follow those actions through. So like I say, hopefully we've kind of touched on a few reasons there that go beyond vanity of why you should be getting in better shape, and just made you think a little bit different about, why it would be important and actually who benefits from it. So, we'll leave that one there. So thanks a lot, guys, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.